that you are able to do this not feeling well. We really, really appreciate it. John is part of the PSA group. He does travel photography, and he's going to be talking tonight on black and white photography, which is something that we're really excited about. Welcome, John.
Thank you. Thank you. So, am I allowed to share my screen now?
Yes, what do I have to do?
You have to, there's a button that says allow share or allow screen share or something along those lines.
Okay. Any Zoom people could help me?
Look at the bottom of your screen. There is a green icon saying share screen.
Okay. So do I don't share my screen though.
Evie, you might just make him a co-host also, and then he should be able to share.
I think it's either allow shared screen or share screen permission or something along those lines.
I think you might have to do it.
Okay, I just made you a co-host.
Was the meet not at Sparta? No what?
Well, yeah, I clicked share screen, but it doesn't. All right. Are you all seeing the beginning of my presentation?
No, no.
When you hit share screen, it'll prompt you with a video or a pop-up that asks what screen you want to share. So make sure that you select that. I just clicked mine and it lets me do that. So it'll let me do it.
So you may have to click on my photo, my picture.
No, you have to do it on your screen. If you click share screen, a window will pop up with all your different windows. And if you hit, like mine says desktop 1, it'll share your entire desktop screen.
How's that?
Oh,
Yes.
Good.
Very good.
All right. Let me see here. I need to. Okay. So we'll get going. Let me tell you a few things ahead of time. Number one is I'm colorblind, but not totally colorblind. I can see and appreciate colors, but not as well as most other people can. So I suspect it's got something to do with why I like black and white photography. And the other thing is that everything that I'm going to tell you tonight is strictly my opinion. Like I'll throw up a color photo and then it's cool in black and white, and then I'll tell you how much greater it is or how much I like it. But keep in mind, that's just my idea. Your ideas might be altogether different. So we'll get started here. This is a historic property near where I live. It's called Traveler's Rest. I like the photo, and my attempt in the photo was to have these lines. Somebody's speaker is on.
we're getting a lot of background noise, so I'm going to mute everyone and then just unmute you.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. Sorry
All
about
right.
that.
This is, the intent of this photograph was just to document the lines, converging lines into a vanishing point back over here. But I kind of felt like the colors, even though I like them, it's not kind of soft and comfortable. It wasn't until I converted it to black and white that I really had a striking portrayal of the lines. A lot of these lines, you didn't even see them in the color version. Here is a extremely busy photograph. It's an old mill, steel mill in Albania, and my my traveling partner and I saw this place off in the distance, and we rode up to it, and I got out of the car and started making some pictures of this sort of thing, which I really like. But it didn't do much for me. So here's here's how I process this, and I'll see what you think about it. Oops. What I did was converted it to black and white, and then I took the green slider and pulled it all the way to the right until all this green became white. And suddenly the picture makes a lot more sense. See how messy it is here, and not really sure what's happening. But then when you isolate the foliage, it works better. Here's a plant nursery near where I live. I like the picture, and I took it. This is one of the few pictures I took knowing I was going to convert it to black and white. Normally I don't. I just shoot in color, and then occasionally I'll look back through my photos and find some I want to convert to black and white. This one was going black and white from the beginning, and the reason is my eyes saw all these lines, these shadows down here, the steel girders up here. But it wasn't until I converted to black and white that the shadows then became a real serious element in the photo. Here's another picture taken in the same place. This is a little bit on the spooky side. This is actually plastic that was on the roof that weather has just totally destroyed it. And I like it because I like the reflection down here and just the feeling of it. But and then I tried it. This is one where I'm kind of ambivalent about it. I tried it in black and white, and I like it, but I'm not sure I like it a whole lot more than I like the color one. And like I said, everything that you see and hear tonight is opinion, mine. Here's a bridge somewhere in Europe, and I made the photo because I like the strong diagonal here, and I like the curve and the way this curve meets the straight line diagonal. And it was it just, when I looked at it in black in color, I liked all the blue, but the blue to me kind of pulled away from what I was really looking for, and that was the structural lines. So here's what it looks like in black and white. See, now it's got a drama that it didn't have back here when it looked like real. Now it looks a little bit contrived, but I liked it. It's just Mesa Verde. If you've ever been out there, you know that this is a difficult picture to take because there's always tourists walking around through here. The game warden, or not the game warden, the park ranger looked like he might allow me to take a picture without the people. So he did. He stopped. He waited until the previous group had left. And before our group went down here, he held us and allowed me to take this photo. This is 9 photos put together. Why would I turn this into black and white? Well, the reason is the texture. You can see here, you can see the texture. But what really makes the texture stand out is the shadows between each element of the texture. And in black and white, it just becomes more in your face. This is now these ancient stones here are you can see them for what they are instead of the postcard effect. This is Pueblo Bonito, and it's in the Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Beautiful, beautiful place. Horrible place to get to. If you when you're out west and you want to see a really striking area with early American ruins, Chaco Canyon is the place. This is this building right here was put up about 400 years before Columbus came. Now, why would I convert it to black and white? Well, here's one reason right here. Whenever you see these cirrus clouds against blue, it's a given that when you convert it to black and white, they're going to pop. The other reason was I was almost I used a deep depth of field to get these elements down here sharp. But then when I got home and looked at it, I wasn't real happy about having them sharp. So in black and white, they became part of the foreground, and they're the clouds, as I was mentioning to you. See the clouds. Whenever you've got clouds up against a blue or a green, then converting it to black and white really makes those clouds pop out. This is another shot in Albania. I put it in here because it exemplifies the idea of the shadows creating the texture. You can see here that yeah, it's texture, all right, but it's not until it becomes black and white that the texture jumps out at you. Out west again, this is Arches Park. I'm not real thrilled with this photo. It just seems like it's hasn't got a theme to it, hasn't got a point. There's no real good focal point here, unless possibly the arch here, maybe the stones here. It needed some help. So one of the reasons that black and white works occasionally is when a photo needs help, like this one does, black and white then takes over and becomes an element itself. Now this, to my way of thinking, is the subject of the photograph. This is in a shipyard in Port Angeles. Just as you enter on the, excuse me, just as you enter the Olympic Peninsula on the north side, I got there and evening was coming on, and I was traveling by myself, so I just started walking around trying to find something interesting to photograph. And this boatyard had been left unlocked, so I went in and made some photos there. This one I've put into this presentation because the last chance, I need for it to be more important, and I need for the rest of the craft to really look like maybe it is on its last legs. So here's what it looks like in black and white. Sometimes I'm wishy-washy about, do I like the black and white or do I like the color? In this case, black and white wins hands down. Here's a, excuse me, I'm gonna take a cough drop. Actually, I buy these things by the gross now since I've had this cough. Anyway, this location here is a place called Coral Sands State Park. And it's just outside of where is it? I can't remember the more famous place. It's close to Zion National Park. It's called Coral Pink Sands State Park because every evening the sand turns this color. And it does that because when the sun gets low, the chemical makeup of the grains of the sand somehow or another reflect this color. So Coral Pink Sands State Park, it's worth a visit. I like the photo. Well, I went there because of the color, but I like the photo because of the shape and this line and the fact that the photograph is divided into 3 distinct segments, which I think become more obvious when you go to black and white. Here's a, did any of you go to Salt Lake City for the PSA conference a couple years ago? This is the Salt Lake City or Utah State Capitol building. Those of us that were on the had signed up for this tour were able to get into the building before anybody else in the morning. We went in there and it was overwhelming. There was all these beautiful frescoes, curves, pretty light bouncing around. I wanted to exemplify the fact that the curves were what took me to make this picture. So in black and white, I then isolated the fixture and vignetted the other surrounding curves a little bit so that it became a black and white photo for me. Now let's look at some seascapes, or landscapes and seascapes. This is in Washington State. It's a place called Second Beach. It's got to be on your hit list when you go to the West Coast. Second Beach, well, actually there's a third beach and a first beach, but this Second Beach is the one that I love because the driftwood was just dramatic. It posed for me real well. I was able to have a little arch down here, and this sea tower remained with trees on it in silhouette. But it didn't quite do it. I think when you see the black and white, look what happens to the sky, and look what happens to the texture of the wood. It becomes a very, very dramatic photo. And it was just the way I felt when I was there. It was cold. It had rained as I was traipsing through the woods about a mile to get to it. And windy, and it was just brutal. But this picture didn't capture that for me. This picture did. Here's another example of when you ought to, if it's bad weather outside, get outside. There's so many opportunities that we miss because we think we might melt or something. And this is a real good example. This is looking a little further south than the driftwood in the previous photo. I think this is Cannon Beach. Well, Cannon Beach is right down in this area here. So I'm looking looking southward, and I liked the mist that was on the coming up off of the water. I liked the clouds. They had some possibilities in it, but black and white really did it for me on this one. Now, not only are you seeing the power of these clouds, but you're also seeing the silhouettes of these various layers of mountains. Whoops. These various layers of mountains as you look off into the distance. Something like this, you want to be real careful and get your foreground sharp. But really, go outside. If the weather's bad, you're going to get photos that other people won't get. Here is, this is in Western Canada somewhere. I was driving along in the mountain roads and pulled off because this striking scene was out there for me. And I knew, just like with the clouds at Chaco Canyon, I knew that these white clouds against this green were really going to pop when I converted to black and white. So I did, and there you go. Now it's a dramatic picture, whereas before it was kind of pretty. You might notice that this roadway down here disappeared when I made it black and white. See, it's sort of distracting right now, but in black and white, you don't even see it. Here, there is a place in France where this tree exists. This place is called Oradour-sur-Glane. And then the name of the village is Oradour, and it's on the Glane River. Let me tell you the story of this. I'm going to read it because I don't want to mispronounce it. The buildings in this photo are all that is left of the little French town of Oradour-sur-Glane. On June 10th, 1944, a German Panzer battalion led by Adolf Diekmann sealed off the commune, rounded up the citizens, and murdered all but several who managed to escape. In all, 196 men, 247 women, 205 children were shot dead or herded into the town's ancient church and burned alive. This is a church building right back here. The country of France has left this. Obviously, they cleaned up the debris, but they have left it as it was, as a monument to the horrific scenes of World War II. So what did I do here? When I converted to black and white, I slid the green slider all the way to the right till it became worked out. And now this means something to me. The tree may have indicated second life or hope or memories or whatever. But doing this, and it's almost like an infrared photo. But by doing that and turning these leaves white, and when I processed to black and white, it then became ethereal. It became almost like a spirit. And I'm not getting carried away with details here because this is truly an emotional place. And if you're in France and can visit it, you really, really should. We're out west now, and this is road marker 13. And this is where the very famous and never to be forgotten Forrest Gump ended his, what was it, 15,000 miles he walked and ran. When he got to this point right here, he said, and I quote, "I'm tired, I'm going home." And this is what he saw. By the way, while I made this photo, there was a busload of tourists that had parked over here, and I had to wait until all of them got the same picture. And then I got out in the middle of the road and made just 13 photos here put together. And by doing that, I was able to get sharpness all the way to the edges. If I had used a wide angle lens, then I would have lost a lot of detail on these edges. Here's what it looks like in black and white. It becomes a little more elemental to me. Here, this is Lake Louise out in Western Canada. One of the most beautiful spots on Earth, I think. And I've been to a lot of spots on Earth. The thing that the photo as it stands now is a little bit bland, and it doesn't have, is, you know, I wanted a foreground element, which is okay. Maybe some of these rocks would fit the bill as a foreground element, but it wasn't until I converted it to black and white that the foreground became a lot more important, and the reflections here leading back became more important. Black and white, or color, black and white. This is a little spot near my house where I'm a hiker. Oh, by the way, I'm quite proud of this. I've just returned from Italy, where I and my 16-year-old granddaughter walked 200 miles from Laverna, Italy to Rome. We traced the path of St. Francis, when in the 13th century, he and 11 of his followers went to Rome to ask the Pope for permission to start a new order. Anyhow, all that stemmed from the fact that I'm a hiker. I like this little spot, but there's something about it that's missing. What I really liked when I converted it to black and white was the texture of these leaves. They became a whole lot more important when the color was missing. See that? Now, black and white isn't just for seascapes and landscapes. Here's a flower. This is I think this is a dahlia. I put this in the presentation because although the colors are striking and they're beautiful, and you can almost get lost in this photo, particularly if you were a bug. But I converted it to black and white because I wanted to show the gradations of gray to black, which you'll see in just a second on these petals. See that? Almost a continual, whoops, correct. Almost a continual gradation. If you looked at this at the if you examined it for color density, you would see a very, very smooth curve here. And all of these, I just like the study. It's beautiful. It demonstrates demonstrates nature at its best, I think. There's another one. This guy is a little spider. It's on the calla lily, and he's a Mazumina clubfoot. He doesn't spin a web. What he does is he hangs around in flowers and assumes the color of the background. He's a chameleon spider. Interesting character. But I wanted to show that even more, but because I thought the pistol here, or whatever it's called, was distracting. So I turned it to black and white, and now he became a whole lot more important. So in that case, I used black and white to shift your focus from a very, very colorful thing to a thing with almost no color. Here's an interesting photo. This is a seabird of some sort. And this is where my colorblind comes in. What I see here is blue water, and I see a blue bird. I know he's not blue, he's white. So when I convert to black and white, he becomes white. Isn't that neat? Plus he stands out against the background a whole lot better than he did here. Also, back out at Cannon Beach, I get a lot of grief about this photo. When I first showed it to my wife and to my local club, I asked them, do you like this photo or do you like this photo? And it was 100% voted for this one. Well, almost 100%. I voted for this one. And why did I do that? I did that because, number one, I was there, and I knew I had followed this man and his dog all the way down the beach, and I waited until he got right where I wanted him. And I fired off 5 or 6 shots. And I chose this one because the dog's leg and the man's leg mirror each other, which is a good thing in street photography. So if this weren't wet beach, it could almost classify itself as street photography. But it was the silhouette, the 3 elements and the silhouette that to me was more important even than this striking sunset. And I still get grief about it. Okay, how about some people? This old man at a fishing village in Europe, he allowed me to make his photo, but only after we had stopped and talked for a long time. When he first walked up, I pointed to my camera and then to him, and he said, no. After we had talked for a while and I showed him some other pictures on my camera, he allowed us how I could make this photo. I converted it to black and white and muted some of these other distractions over here. I like the photo better. Now I can see his whiskers and see the depth of his wrinkles. Now they were there here. They were there before, but you didn't see them as well as you do now. This fellow is an Indian. He's a former councilman of the Navajo Nation. I stayed at his house on a trip out west, and he took me to a place which I've not photographed, but it's on these rocks back here. Took me to a place where his ancestors had put a lot of petroglyphs on the rocks, and it was way the heck out in the middle of nowhere. He told me that if I ever told anyone where it was, that he would find me and he would scalp me. So I took him at his word, and I'll never tell where it was. But it's the man's skin texture is really, I think, marvelous in color, and it may even come close to marvelous in black and white. I believe I like the color better. There's an older lady in let's see where she is. She's in Bulgaria. Again, this is my wife and I had traveled there, maybe 15 years ago, and we walked by this little farmstead, and this lady and her husband were out talking to another neighbor, and as we came up, they recognized that we were quote, not from around here, and this lady invited us to come into her house and have tea and to see her farm, which we did. And it's just one of those really, really memorable places and occurrences. But look at her face. Now, isn't that marvelous? I thought maybe this blue and the scarf were distracting a little bit, so I tried it out in black and white, and I think I like it just as much. Here's a little lady in, this is in Lhasa, Tibet. Back when we were there, we we were able to fly into Lhasa, and no, sorry, we were able to get into a place in in Western China called Kunming, and we took we hired a driver from there and drove to Lhasa. But when we crossed the border, we were instructed that we had to have a guide. We were not allowed to just wander around. So there was a guy standing there, and we hired him to be our guide. And we took him on into town, and then told him to get lost, which he did. But later that day, we hired a driver to take us out into the countryside, where we wanted to see the way that the Tibetans lived. So I made this photo of a lady, and again, she invited us in, and we had tea. And it turns out she was the aunt of the driver. But I love the photo. I love her twinkle in her eyes, that little pearl earring, and just her kindness was coming right out all over the place. But I liked it in color better. The reason I liked it in color is because of these tin cans over here, where she had plants growing. And for some reason or another, the tin cans and the flowers sort of made a bigger impression on me than the wrinkles did. So I keep this. This is a case in which color really trumps black and white. If you've ever done any street photography, you know that what you're looking for and seldom ever find is a Cartier-Bresson moment where there are some elements in the photograph that complement each other or add some humor, so forth. My wife wanted me to make sure to tell anybody that sees this photo that this is not her. But the reason that I liked the photo and converted it to black and white so it looked more like a street photo is the subjects are just so similar. You know, this sort of chunky statue and this sort of chunky lady. if she didn't have those shorts on, she'd have great big tree legs like that statue does. But anyhow, it's street photography is almost always looks better in black and white. And I think the reason is that if it's in black and white, your eye is looking for the catch. Here's another one. We had we'd been through the Vatican Museum, and this room here had some seating area for people who just needed to rest, and we did. We'd spent all the morning there. So the photo is it's absolutely one of my favorites, and the reason it is because of the elements here. Look at this man's face and the woman's face. Look at the direction of this woman's face and this woman. Look at these hands and these hands. Marvelous. We were sitting here looking at this photo. We were sitting on a bench over here, and this couple walked in and sat down, and I almost had a heart attack. What a marvelous photo. If I could catch the expressions and show the similarities, which I did, and then converted it to black and white. And this photo has garnered some street photography awards. So, but I didn't take it thinking it was to be black and white. I took it as a color photo. You might want to know how I did it without getting there. I aimed my camera here, and until this guy got comfortable with it. And then at the last second, I switched the focus over here and hit the shutter release. Got him. So, real quick review here. My suggestion is to use black and white when you want to emphasize design elements, make shadows part of the composition, capture the environment, emphasize a shape, add drama to a photo, shoot on a bad weather day, express an emotion. It still gets me. Show detail, leaves, emphasize shading, and character, or create an impactful street photo. So I'm almost done here. Some parting shots. Always shoot in color. Had I been shooting in black and white, about half of the photos that you just saw would not have worked. You shoot in color because you need that information. Like for instance, when I turned those leaves into the white, it was by removing the green that I did it. So, and it's just the way you have to do it. And always shoot in raw. I use Lightroom and Silver Effects Pro. Now, black and white has its challenges. Your only tools are light, shadow, and composition. So, but the biggie is here's a thought for you. Review your old photos. I never have gone out with the intent of making black and white photos. I get my black and white photos from going back through the thousands and thousands of photos I have. And when I see something that I think will work, then I bring it over and work on it a little bit. So don't forget, it's all opinion. Everything that I've told you is my opinion. It may or may not work for you. A little advertisement. This Photo Travel Division has brought you this presentation tonight, and more information about PSA is here, and the Travel Division's page is here. So we welcome you to join us in the Travel Division. Okay, I'm ready for questions if you have any.
I need to unmute everyone. Okay.
I was gonna ask John what program you use, but you already told us that just a minute ago. You use Lightroom and Silver Effects Pro, correct?
Right, right.
And what part of the country do you live in?
What parts? I'm sorry, what?
What part of the country do you
Oh,
live in?
I live in the foothills of the Appalachians in northeast
Oh.
Georgia.
I thought maybe
And
you'd
it's-
be out west somewhere.
No, it's God's country. It is really beautiful here.
Anybody else have any questions?
I was wondering, do you do your manipulation on the color image or on the monochrome image after you've converted it over, like moving your green slide?
I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't understand what you said.
When you move your green slide, do you do that on the color image or after you've converted it to monochrome?
I did it after I converted to monochrome
Okay,
because I could see better how it was going to work with the rest of the photo.
I can see in almost all of those black and whites, and it really does bring out the texture. I'm just amazed at the difference.
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
On that picture you had of the lily and the spider,
Yes, sir.
when you converted that into black and white, did you do any enhancement to bring out it almost looked like a stroke around the legs of that spider? Did you?
You know,
do
that was a shadow on his legs. See, that's just the shadow. I didn't, there's nothing added here. In fact, this is just straight over conversion. But he stands out against against the background very well.
Very, very, very nice.
Okay, folks, I'm gonna go crawl in bed. I don't like feeling sick, and I am. So thank you very much for allowing me to present tonight, and I'll see you another time.
Thank
Okay.
you, John.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
John, thank you, and I
Thank you.
sure hope you feel
thank you
better.
much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm gonna leave you